Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a profoundly simple yet completely radical framework for professional excellence. We are stripping away all that generic feel-good career advice to focus on a single piece of source material through a very specific lens: the art of irrefutable excellence in actuarial science and risk management. Drawing on 30 years of hard-won experience in the field, we're going to fracture this brief text, element by element, to reveal what is essentially a minimalist meditation on mastering risk.
Just 7 words. Be so good they can't ignore you. On the surface, it almost sounds overly simple, right? But when you actually apply this to the actuarial world, a field completely governed by rigorous mathematics, probability, and complex modeling, this isn't just a catchy phrase. It's an entire philosophy of mastery. It cuts right through all those common excuses about needing better office politics or FaceTime. Instead, it places the burden of success entirely on the undeniable, absolutely bulletproof quality of your analytical output. So let's break this down, starting with Section 1, the action, and the command to be. Listen, that very first word, be, isn't some passive, gentle suggestion. It is an active, uncompromising command to exist fully in your craft right now. In risk management, to truly be means you aren't just blindly running numbers through some legacy system because that's how we've always done it. No, you are actively embodying the pursuit of accuracy. You're constantly questioning the underlying assumptions of your models. Honestly, it's the starting line for all actuarial excellence.
Because real excellence requires you to first take ownership and commit to that cultivation. To occupy a state of active presence means showing up to do the seriously unglamorous, behind-the-scenes work. When you look at this over a 30-year career, it looks like endlessly stress-testing your pricing models. It's staying up to date on constantly shifting regulatory frameworks and running those Monte Carlo simulations again and again until you finally spot the blind spots that literally everyone else missed. You absolutely have to commit to this deliberate practice.
Moving on to Section 2, the standard, crossing the quality threshold.
Notice it doesn't just say be good. It demands you be so good. Now, being merely good as an actuary just means your spreadsheet balances and you meet the baseline requirements. You're doing fine, but being so good, that represents an extreme, exceptional tier of quality. It is the vast difference between doing a job well enough to not get fired versus designing a predictive model with such high fidelity that it saves the firm millions in capital reserves and completely redefines how the entire department assesses tail risk.
And this visual brilliantly illustrates what we call the threshold of attention. Look at that first bar, average. That's just background noise. Competent, sure, but highly replaceable. The second bar gets a slight bump, but honestly it still blends in. There are plenty of good analysts out there. But when you cross that dotted line into so good, you violently break the scale. You aren't just processing data anymore. You are uncovering invisible correlations. When your work reaches that top tier, you literally force the executive suite to look up and pay attention.
Which brings us to Section 3, the outcome, the inevitability of attention.
What's so fascinating here is how absolute the outcome is. They can't ignore. This is definitely not a polite request for recognition at your annual review. When your standard of work in risk management crosses into true excellence, the market and your firm actually lose the ability to look past you. Think about it. When your mortality tables or your loss reserving analyses just consistently predict reality better than anyone else's, attention isn't something you have to beg for. It becomes a forced, natural byproduct of your undeniable accuracy.
Just look at the stark contrast between these two states. On the left, we have the ignorable actuary, blending in, easily overlooked, probably relying on last year's macros. It's a safe place to be, but you're completely invisible. On the right, the unignorable risk professional, this undeniable presence whose insights actually dictate the company's financial strategy. Crossing from the left side to the right side is the core transformation this text demands. And it begs the question, which column do your current analytical models sitting?
Let's pivot to Section 4, the focus, the locus of control.
The final word.
You. This entire philosophy zeroes in right here, shifting the locus of control entirely inward. It doesn't say hope the partners happen to notice you. No, it places the burden of action squarely on your personal commitment to rigor. And yeah, that is incredibly empowering, but it's also kind of terrifying because it strips away all your excuses about market conditions or corporate structure. If they are ignoring your risk assessments, this philosophy argues it's simply because your analyses are not yet so good.
So, I really want to ask you this directly, to connect this back to your own career. Take a hard look at the actuarial models you produced just this past week. Look at your current grasp of predictive analytics. If you are totally honest with yourself,
Are you still ignorable? Like, could a newly licensed junior actuary or even an automated machine learning script easily step in and do exactly what you do? Confronting that uncomfortable reality is really the only way to start you climb toward that undeniable top tier.
All right, let's wrap this up with Section 5, the synthesis, constructing the framework.
This sequences the exact logical progression for building a truly legendary career in risk. Step 1, cultivate the technical skill. Take the action to be. Step 2, keep refining that skill, navigating those complex data sets and volatile markets until you reach the threshold where your work is undeniably so good. And then, step 3, the natural result. You command attention because your foresight is just too valuable to ignore. Action leads to a staggering standard, which then forces a powerful outcome. When we return to the full text now, it's clearly no longer just a simple quote, is it? It's a heavy, uncompromising blueprint for your life in this highly technical field. It is the ultimate mandate. It's telling you to stop worrying about office politics, put your head down, and do the hard, rare work of becoming an absolute master at risk assessment. Because at the end of the day, your irrefutable value will speak so much louder than any promotion ever could.
So I'll leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. Take this framework with you into your next quarterly review, your next pricing meeting, or that next long modeling session. Ask yourself, what specific variable are you going to refine today to ensure your work simply demands attention? How will you actively practice being so undeniably accurate that the market literally has no choice but to rely on you? Thanks so much for joining me today. Now get back to it. The numbers are waiting.